You think your wealthy client's biggest fear is losing their money, but their biggest fear is being alone. That's why we're going to talk about lonely based emotions today. Lonely based emotions are the emotions I see in my office most often. Why? Because they are the most painful. They are the ones that trigger people to actually take action. Welcome to Presidential Lifestyle Live. I am so glad you're here. I am your host, Kanae Porter, the leading national certified counselor specializing in financial therapy for wealthy professionals. Now, whether you're watching this video on YouTube or LinkedIn, maybe you're listening to this on a podcast or you read our blog, I want to thank you for being part of this community. And if you're not already, I'd like to invite you to become an official member by clicking the link in the description of this video, giving us your best information, and go ahead and engage in the community. If you have questions, I will get you answers, and I'll make sure you're even asking the right questions. All right, well, I'll see you inside the community. But in the meantime, let's talk about these lonely based emotions. I have 20 years of experience in the financial services industry, and I've done extensive research on money based emotions. As a financial professional yourself, it's important that you understand particularly lonely based emotions, but money based emotions, period. Now, the reason why I say particularly lonely based emotions is because those are the ones where you're going to see your clients in the most pain. Remember last week I said that lust based emotions were heavy. Well, lonely based emotions are heavier than heavy. They actually are the opposite of heavy. They're just like when your client is like, damn it all to hell, like forget all of this. And you don't want them to get that way, right? Because what are they going to use to forget it all? Their money. Yes, you know the theme. You see where I'm going here. So let's talk about the four most common lonely based emotions. First, there is feeling numb. Second, feeling disconnected. Third, feeling misunderstood. And fourth, feeling isolated. Now, I'm going to break each one down for you because it's important that you understand what each one means so that you can be aware of when you start to see this in your client. Now, they're not going to come to you and say, I feel numb, I feel disconnected, or I feel misunderstood. No, that's something they would say to me. However, they may not even say those words to me. It's just that I've been doing this long enough to know what they're feeling. They're going to say other words to you. And so that's what I want you to understand. Let's talk about feeling numb. When your clients feel numb, they're just emotionally exhausted. And you can kind of see it in their body language that they're just like, what? What do you want now? Kind of thing. And so that emotional exhaustion just leaves them numb. They have nothing left. They don't want to feel anymore. Maybe they felt like they loved their business so much and maybe it's not doing exactly what they wanted it to do. Maybe it's about family and personal life. Maybe their professional life is going really well and their personal life not so good. And they are just drained. So that's the first one. Second, disconnected. Now, I want you to get clear because the second and the third one sound very similar, but they are slightly different. Now, disconnected is referring more to the closer knit community or family that they are around, and they feel unfulfilled and they don't have meaningful connections around them in their close proximity. And the unfulfillment might come from their business. They might have built a business that was just about money for them. It was no fulfillment and they never found it. Like somebody could start a window washing business, which would seem to be, mundane and maybe not fulfilling, but because they put feeling or meaning in it, because it is about the meaning that you give it. And so because they put meaning in it, and when they look at that skyscraper, they can tell their grandkids, I washed those windows and feel great about it and it means something to them every time they know people are looking out those clean windows. They're like, I did that. So that might give them meaning, but not for every client. So sometimes people start these businesses mostly for money, and they get to a point where they just do not feel fulfilled by it and they need something else. So they're going to have this disconnection. And you've seen this, Carnegie is a great example. I use him as an example all the time, where he's sold his business for something like $500 million, which at that time was over billion. So if you equate it to today's money. And so he did that, but it wasn't about the money anymore. He was like, all right, now I have to go do some impact in the world. And that is when he decided to open universities and Carnegie Hall and give back and do things. So your clients might need that shift. Sometimes we call it a midlife crisis, especially when it happens to men. And when they have that shift, then they're going to use their money. It might be like this crazy give away some of it kind of thing. And I say crazy, but it's not. It actually is them actually coming to their sanity. So I'm giving you all of this information because this disconnection can look a lot of different ways. That unfulfillment can be about their business, but it could also be about their personal life. But I want you to understand that it has more to do with what's right in front of them and not out in the world as much. So then there is misunderstood. They may feel misunderstood, especially if they are in the limelight, if they are a public figure. They may feel misunderstood because people see them act as this character when they're on, when they're on camera or on their stage, whatever their stage is, whether it's a court or a field or an actual stage or a camera. So people may see them act a certain way. Now, I'm going to give you an example. So this smile on my face, it's totally real. But I don't walk around the house with the smile on my face, right? But I give this smile to you because this is how we connect, how you and I get together. If I came to this stage and I was like, yeah, this is the most lonely based emotions, and yeah, your clients might feel them. You'd be like, click onto the next video, right? So I need to bring my energy up in order for you to get connected with me, especially when we're talking about a flat video and not in person. So the person that they may have to become in order to be on their stage, the field, the court, the corporate, the boardroom, whatever it is, maybe take a lot of energy and it's not 100% them, and they feel misunderstood because they've had to be this person for maybe many years and never really got to be themselves. But I also want you to understand this really important thing that I teach. And that is that your clients need to have a community, a tribe, someplace where they do fit in, someplace where, yes, they are the top and they are the leader, but another place where they don't have to do anything. It's not about them leading. It is about them coming and receiving. And a lot of times, because they don't have that place where they can receive, because they always have to show up for people, they feel misunderstood because they didn't get a chance to be vulnerable. They can't be vulnerable in the boardroom. Come on. But they might not even be able to be vulnerable with their own spouses because they feel judged, or then they also feel misunderstood. So misunderstood could be right in your own home, but it could also be on the larger, grander stage. So this feeling of being misunderstood, extremely painful. And when it happens, sometimes this can toggle into the numbness, but it can also take them into the isolation. So when you're misunderstood, when you're disconnected, especially when you feel numb and exhausted, you want to isolate yourself. And some people get really mean if you see your clients, if they weren't already mean, right? Because I know you maybe have some SOBs that come through your office, because a lot of people think that rich people are mean and evil. And sometimes they get that way because it's a protective coating that they put on themselves. I did, didn't I? Did I just blow your mind? Oh my gosh. You're welcome. Yeah. So rich people are not necessarily evil and mean all the time. There is a subset of, the outliers that really just are, but they weren't born that way. I guarantee you, when they came out of their mom's stomach, they were just cute little baby. They were not that evil man that you see right now today. But that happened over time. And That's how they got isolated, because they grew so angry. Because if you remember back in the lack-based emotion video, we talked about that feeling inadequate. Well, that feeling's there so much, and they remember they have to show up. So if they feel inadequate yet they have to show up, that's exhausting. And so they may end up turning mean. And that mean, we call that the imposter. And the imposter comes up to protect them. That is the imposter's job. We're very thankful for the imposter, because the imposter is doing a great job at protecting them. However, it's time for the imposter to retire. Retire. The imposter is doing too much. It is doing way too much, overworking itself. So it's time for the imposter to go to sleep. And when that imposter gets numb and has to go to sleep, then the wealthy person has to isolate themselves, because they no longer have their imposter. Oh, this is so good. I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because you so needed to hear this right now so you can understand your clients. They push people away, not because they're, mean SOBs, but because they're hurting. They have too many burdens, too much drama, and they're just like, I can't take it anymore. And you've got to have some sympathy, some empathy, some understanding that this is where they are. And some of you might be going through this yourself. And I want to talk about this because it's super important and it's not talked about enough. The lust-based emotions can be heavy. I talked about that. In last week's video, go and watch it if you didn't already. I talked about how it can sometimes lead to suicidal ideations, where the client doesn't even want to be here anymore. But the lonely based emotions, sometimes you can't even bring yourself to commit suicide. Now, I know that's a terrible thing to say, but I need you to understand what I am saying. That is how tired they are. So that might look like depression, and they're not necessarily depressed. They might be. And when I say may not be depressed, I'm talking clinical textbook. They may be sad, and a heavy amount of sadness, to the point where it is actually painful, and sometimes physically painful, believe it or not. And that depression, because they had anxiety when it came to the lack-based emotions. They were feeling anxiety. When it comes to the lonely-based emotions, that is more on the sadness and the depression side. So if you see that, this is where you get to invite them to experience financial therapy. And the best way for you to do that is to first make sure you're in the community. Join the Presidential Lifestyle community. You can just click the link in the description. You and I can have a conversation. You can ask me anything about money emotions, anything about financial therapy. You can run your specific situation across me, and I can help you figure out what to do next. Sometimes that might mean referring your client to the Power of Financial Therapy. They can do that either in a group setting or one-on-one, depending upon what they're looking for, and get you some, you don't have to do this alone, get you some support so you can continue to serve your clients in the way that you do best, by growing and preserving their wealth. So if you are in the community, but you're not engaging yet, I invite you to engage. I want to hear from you. Okay. Yeah, I'm being selfish right now. Right now, I'm thinking about me, and I'm saying, why haven't we had a conversation? I need to hear from you. I need to know what your challenges are. I need to know how you can take this, what seems like something you can't control, and make it something you have control over, because you don't control your clients. They control themselves. So you've got to give them a resource, a place, a thing, something, a tool that they can use to control their emotions, manage their emotions, master their emotions. So you don't have to do that work. You can focus on growing and preserving their wealth, because that is what you do best. So I will focus on guiding you, and you focus on growing and preserving your client's wealth. How does that sound? Does that sound good or good? I know, right? So I look forward to seeing you here next week. We still have So much to talk about. And if you have questions, then you need to be in the community because it will serve you to be in the community. You're not alone. Remember that isolation, that disconnection, that misunderstood. Well, you don't want to have that yourself. So make sure you find a tribe of people just like you, going through the same challenges you're going through, and a place where you get to say, hey, guess what? I won. And you get to brag on yourself, but you also get to be vulnerable and share and say, this isn't going exactly the way I thought it was going to go. Has anybody else experienced this? And they will pour into you. You need this. So I'm here for you. The tribe is here for you. The community is here for you. And all you have to do is show up. So I'll see you in the community. And if there is a topic that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about, you can share it in the community. And I'll be sure to bring it up here and in the community. So that's all for now. I'll see you next week. I'll see you sooner because you're jumping in the community. And did you know that I go live in the community every third Thursday? Is that easy to remember? The third Thursday. So if it's close to the third Thursday, you really want to make sure you're in there because when I go live, I teach a couple things that I do not teach here on YouTube or LinkedIn or even in the podcast. I hold something sacred for the community only. So you won't know what those things are. I'm not even going to tell you because you need to be in the community to know. Did I say it enough? Good. So then you know what to do. I don't want to miss you. I don't want to feel isolated from you. I don't want to feel disconnected from you. You know what I want? Let's talk about what I do want. I want to know that you have what it is that you need in order to be at your best, to take your practice to the next level, to feel like you're doing what it is that you were born to do, what you were meant to do, what you do best. So while you do that, let me handle the therapy. Agreed? Yeah, I figured you would. All right, cool. I'm so glad we had this conversation. That's all for now. See you soon.